Recording now. Thank you everyone for watching this presentation. Today our college Q&A with Mason College Access Network is from Albion College. And Jackie Dotz is here. She's the Assistant Director of Admissions, and she's going to be sharing with all of you who are watching at home or at school in Mason, Oceana, and Manistee counties about Albion College. So Jackie, thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to learn more about Albion.
Awesome, thank you so much. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of a short presentation today, covering all different types of information about Albion. We like to call this the Albion A's. So the different things I'm going to go over kind of all start with A, and it's just a way for you to remember some of the things that more important today. So I will show you guys in a second. The next slide will have what I'm going to go over, but for the most part, it's just general information. I'll touch on admission for all different age levels of students. I'll talk on the process. I'll talk on some important information about Albion, and then I also will touch a little bit on financial aid. So just generally, that's what we're looking at today. So again, here are the different A's I'm going to go over: Albion College Knowledge, the application process, admission to Albion, activities at Albion, Albionisms, which in parentheses is things that are different about Albion, and ability. So kind of to start everything off here, this is a list of different facts and statistics about Albion College. As you can see here, these are just general facts. There's nothing on here. We don't have obviously all of our facts and statistics that we have. So if you have any specific questions about a specific program or a specific part of campus, you absolutely feel free to reach out to me. I am the admission counselor for all of those counties that were listed at the beginning. So absolutely feel free to reach out. Some things that I just like to point out here is that the enrollment is 1,550. So that's the total amount of students that we have here on campus. So that's our freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. The average class size is 16, and the faculty to student ratio is 11:1. So kind of those three statistics together essentially are describing what our campus is like. We are a smaller campus. You are going to have small class sizes. You're going to have good relationships with your faculty members. All those things to describe that kind of personal one-on-one attention that you're going to be getting from your faculty members, from your advisors, from the staff that advise the clubs and organizations you're a part of, and all of that stuff that we think very much describes what our campus is like in terms of learning, in terms of making connections. And those are all really important things to think about when you're looking at what type of school you want to go to. If you want to go to a big school or small school, it's important to think about how you learn. Do you learn better when you have the ability to have that personal relationship with your faculty member and with other students in your classes or the other students in your major? Obviously, all of that is going to come into play while you're a student here at Albion, while you're a student in college in general. But I also think it's really important to point out that that's also going to come into play when you're thinking about what's going to happen after you leave college. When it comes time your senior year to be applying to med school or applying to veterinarian school or getting a job, and you need a letter of recommendation or you need someone to speak on your behalf as a reference, things like that, it's going to have been very important that you made these really personal one-on-one connections last 4 years. So when you go to your professor and you ask them to write you a letter of recommendation, they're going to be able to speak on your character. They're going to speak on your leadership abilities. They're going to be able to speak on the way that you write, the way that you think, and just generally who you are as a person. It's a little bit different than if you go to a big school and you sit in a class of 400 students. Sometimes that faculty member will only be able to say, I know Jackie, she was in my 100 level class. She came this many times, but not maybe even know who you are outside of the work that you've put into that program. So those are just important things for students to know in terms of what you're looking for while you're in college, and also what that means to you when you're leaving. The bottom three statistics there, I always like to point out that graduate students one, that is graduate students is 0, is because we are strictly undergraduate institution. And we only offer undergraduate degrees. We do not offer graduate degrees or doctorate degrees or associate's degrees. So that's why that's 0. The placement rate, the 97%, that means, and this is a statistic that's been over the last 10 years. So of the last 10 years, 97% of our graduates before they graduate already have a job lined up or are already enrolled in their next institution, whether that be med school or grad school or the like. the 4-year graduation rate. So that's again, that's taken over the last 10 years. So of the last 10 years, our students that have graduated from Albion, 98.5% of them have graduated in 4 years. Both of those are important, obviously, when you're thinking about getting a job, when you leave college and being successful when you leave college. It's also important to think about the time you're spending here and how you're spending it. So you want to spend 4 years here. We want to get you in. We want to get you all the stuff you need while you're here. And then we want to make sure that you can be successful when you leave here. So kind of all those things on that page together show that we are setting our students up for success while they're here. And we have alumni, we have these statistics, we have everything to back up that our students are being really successful when they leave Albion. Next page here. So this one's Albionism. So this is the one I was saying kind of just describes some things that are pretty specific to Albion that we think students should be interested in and should know when they're looking at Albion as a choice for college. So at Albion, we have over 40 different programs of study. So some of our most popular majors and minors right now is business, biology and kinesiology, communications, psychology, education. Are kind of our biggest populated programs right now. I always hesitate to say biggest because I think people think that means that those are the best programs or they get the most attention, anything like that. It's not true. That just means that we have the most students in those programs, particularly that biology, kinesiology track. We have a lot of students in those programs right now because we do have a really strong pre-med track here at Albion. So a lot of students who are interested in being pre-med and going to med school are biology or kinesiology majors. So that's kind of what you're looking at in terms of different programs. Obviously, we have all different kinds of set over 40. When I was a student here at Albion, I was a communications and an English double major. So lots of different things to explore. Because of our liberal arts core curriculum, it's very simple here to double major or to have a major and a minor at the same time. So we have students who will be an art major and a biology major with a concentration in sociology, or business and art major with a concentration in accounting. All these different types of interests that you have, you can follow here at Albion. You're not going to have to pick what your passion is and stick with it. You get to explore kind of all your different passions. So that's kind of in terms of the actual curriculum here, what you're looking at. These institutes and centers that are listed on the screen here are kind of our pre-professional programs. So those are different than a major or minor. These are programs that you can tack on to your regular classes here at Albion, and they do have kind of concentrated fields. So for Gerstacker, that's our business institute. So they always say that's for business-minded students because you don't have to be a business major at all to be a part of that program. We have art majors in that program. We have English majors, sociology majors, even pre-med majors are part of that program. So that's Gerstacker. What they do in that program is you're guaranteed an internship. They are helping you with your professional development skills. So they're giving you job shadow opportunities, interview opportunities. They're helping you write your resume. They're helping you with how to have proper etiquette when you are interviewing or when you're going for a business meeting, all of that different stuff. And they also have the strongest alumni connection on campus. So that's Gerstacker, the Business Institute. Ford is very similar to Gerstacker, except for it kind of concentrates on public policy and pre-law. So again, you're guaranteed an internship. They're helping you with all your professional development skills. A really important part about Ford, though, is that you definitely don't have to have a specific major for that. They actually say, any student that's passionate about anything or passionate about the world or passionate about causes should definitely be part of Ford because they're going to help you explore those passions. So maybe you're not necessarily interested in law, or you're not necessarily interested in the government or political science, but you're passionate about the humanities, you're passionate about the world, social justice, things like that might be a good fit for you as well. Wilson Institute, that's our Institute of Medicine. So again, that is a program that they're helping you with your medical school applications. So they're writing your letters of recommendation. They're helping with your essays. Through that program, we offer a free MCAT class. It's taught on our campus by Kaplan University. So different things like that are part of that program. We have a 93% acceptance rate into med school through that program. Honors program is just an honors program here. So you would write an honors thesis, you take honors classes, and then you would graduate with honors. And then CSE is a Center for Sustainability in the Environment, pretty similar to Gerst, Acker, and Ford, except for that revolves around sustainability and the environment. So those are kind of some of our institutes and centers that we offer outside of our majors and minors. We think that sets Albion apart. We think that's why we have such a high placement rate, is because we have these programs in place to help students. Another reason that we think our placement rate and our students are so successful is because of our alumni engagement, and then our career and internship center on campus and experiential learning. So we have this career and internship center on campus that runs our Britain network, which is basically a computer program that has every single alumni from Albion, what they do, what companies they've worked for, what their current position is, and how to get in contact with them. So as a student here at Albion and as an alumni, you're always going to have access to that. So if you are looking for an internship or you're looking for a job, you can always reach out. Or even if you're just curious about a job, maybe you're a freshman or a sophomore and you're not sure what you want to do, but we have an alumni who works for Google. We have an alumni that works for the New England Patriots. Maybe you're like, hey, that sounds cool. I want to know what that's like. I want to know how to get there. You can reach out to that alumni as well through that program. Experiential learning is very large here at Albion. So as I said, internships are pretty huge here. Almost every single one of our students does an internship within their 4 years. Many do more than one internship. But we also think doing things like research projects, doing things like studying abroad are also really important for students for when they leave Albion. And also, it's very important, we think, for students to learn. We think you learn just as much going out and doing the thing that you've been studying in the classroom as you're going to learn within the classroom studying it or within books and things like that. So we really stress experiential learning. So when you leave Albion, you already have that on your resume. You already know you can do it. Your confidence is built, and you're just more marketable as an alumni from Albion. So different activities that we have here for students to participate in. So we have over 100 clubs and organizations that students like to participate in. We have kind of your more traditional clubs and organizations you're going to see at most colleges. You probably have at your high school, such as like student government. We have an LGBTQ club here. We have a Black Student Alliance. We have different religious-based clubs, we have different service-based clubs, different academic-based clubs that our students participate in. We do have some that are a little unique to Albion. We have a squirrel watching club. We have Greek life here, so we have fraternities and sororities. And then we do have a student programming board. So that's called Union Board. And what they do is they bring free fun events to campus. So every Friday and Saturday, they host an event for our students to go to for free. So in non-COVID years, they were bringing things like they'd have an 80s night and they'd have a roller skating rink for students to roller skate and they'd play 80s music. They've done midnight laser tag. They bring slam poets and comedians and musicians. They put on carnivals. They do a hypnotist every year. So that's been always a super, super fun part of campus that students love. I've actually been incredibly impressed with that organization this past year and a half. The things that they've done are so creative to go with the times. So even when we had to shut down last spring and our students had to go home and learn from home, they still were hosting virtual events every Friday and Saturday for our students to participate in, to stay connected to campus. And then with our students back on campus right now, they have been doing social distance events, which has also been really cool. So they did one, they brought in a DJ and they drew these giant circles in the grass on the quad. And then as students wore their mask and stood in their own circle, and it was like a big dance party on the quad. They've got new fire pits. They've been doing movies on the quad with these giant screens. So just really cool stuff that I think is just really impressive to me about how they're staying true to their mission and staying true to what Albion College is, a super interactive, super residential based campus. So last thing on here is athletics. So we do have athletics here at Albion. We are Division III for athletics, which means we do not offer athletic scholarships, but we are still a super competitive school in terms of we're part of the MIAA. So we're playing schools like Adrian and Elma and Hope and Calvin, different schools that you've probably heard of. And so it is just a really cool way to continue your sport at a higher level into the collegiate level and, up the competition and things like that. So just some fun things to do at Albion. So next steps. So if you are a junior or a senior, this is going to be a little bit more geared towards you. So our application at Albion opens the August before your senior year. So if you're a senior right now, our application is already open. If you're a junior, it'll open next summer for you. If you're a sophomore or a freshman, it'll open the summer before your senior year of high school. So there are two ways to apply to Albion. You can apply through the Common App. So we are a member of the Common App, or we have our regular application on our website. And so this page here with all these different colorful blocks is basically the things that we're looking at when we look at your application. So we like to say that these are kind of the puzzle pieces of the puzzle that is you. So obviously you can see the transcript there is a big part of that puzzle piece. So the transcript is going to be something that we look at really closely when we're reading applications. Obviously, we want to know how well you're doing in your classes. We want to know what type of classes you've taken, but we're also looking at your grade trend. We're looking at your discipline history, all these different things about you. We're looking at your extracurricular activities, your essay, your recommendations. We want to know from the people who are speaking on your behalf, that know your leadership skills, etc. And all of those things we think make up who you are as a student. So in terms of admission, we are looking at you as a whole student. We call it a holistic approach to admission, which means we're not just looking at your GPA or a test score. We're looking at everything you write in your application, and we're taking all of that into consideration and then making a decision if you would be successful here at Albion, and if Albion would be a good fit for you. So those are all the things that we're looking at. This year particularly, we are test optional. We know that not every student has had the chance to take the SAT or the ACT, so we are going to be test optional, so you can absolutely send in your application this year without a SAT or ACT score. I'm guessing because of the way that things are trending right now, we will be test optional next year as well. So that's kind of everything that we're looking at. In terms of timeline, right now it's prime application season, so we are flying through apps. So you should hear within 2 weeks after submitting your application and sending us your transcript if you've been admitted to Albion or not. So kind of next after you've been admitted is figuring out how much it's going to cost to go to Albion. So I like to just break down different parts about how we make Albion affordable and what type of aid we offer to students and how to get that aid. So kind of the first big chunk of money you're going to get is from Albion Colleges, your merit-based scholarship. Every student that applies to Albion and gets accepted qualifies for one of our merit-based scholarships. So they range from $23,000 to $34,000 for this next school year. So that is strictly based on your application. So that's based on your GPA, your school index score, your school ranking. And we take all those things into an algorithm and it spits out which scholarship level you fall into. That's kind of the first big chunk. The second big chunk of opportunities for students in terms of aid comes from the FAFSA. So if you're a senior this year, the FAFSA opened October 1st. If you haven't filed it, I highly encourage you to do so as soon as possible. And then what you do is you list the schools that you're interested in, and that information gets sent to that school. Personally, for Albion, that's what triggers us to create what we call an financial aid award letter for you. That's going to break down everything you've been awarded and exactly how much it costs to go to Albion for the year. So if you are junior, sophomore, freshman, you'll want to fill that out as close to October 1st of your senior year as possible. So what happens when you file that FAFSA is the information gets sent to us and that lets us know what you qualified for from the FAFSA. So when you file the FAFSA, you're qualifying potentially for government aid and state aid. So that's financial aid. You can use that to for colleges. So here at Albion will accept your financial aid from the FAFSA. So your state aid, any state grants, any federal grants, will accept your federal loans here. But also you're potentially going to qualify for need-based grants from Albion. So what we do is we take the numbers that the FAFSA sends us. So they'll send us what's called your expected family contribution, which is the dollar amount after taking all of your family's financial situation into account, the dollar amount that your family is estimated and expected to be able to pay towards your education. So that number gets sent to Albion, and then we basically do a calculation to figure out what your need is. And then we fill that need gap with Albion College Commitment grants, from the grants you qualified for from the government or from the state. And then we get you as close to your expected family contribution as possible. The reason that we go into depth like this is because we're offering students individual need-based packaging here. We have a super high sticker price at $65,000. So when families hear that, they're like, oh my goodness, we cannot afford to go there. So I always want to make sure that I talk through the fact that we're building everything based on your FAFSA and based on your scholarship. So you're getting this scholarship based on your application, and then you're qualifying for aid based on your FAFSA. So even though it's $65,000 a year to go here, we have students who pay $4,000. We have students who pay $10,000. We have students who pay $9,000. We have students who pay $20,000. It really just depends on where you're falling with your need and where you're falling with your scholarships. Again, a big reason I say that is because I don't want any student to write Albion off based on cost, because there's no way to tell how much it's going to cost for you until you apply, until you file your FAFSA, and until you receive your award letter. It's the same thing for other schools that you may be looking at, especially schools that are similar to Albion, like those in the MIAA or the GLCA. So schools like Elma, Hope, Calvin, Adrian, etc., Olivet, they're all kind of similarly packaging. So even though we're 65,000 and one of them appears to be 40,000, when it actually breaks down, the amount that you're going to pay for each school is fairly similar, because we're all working off same numbers. So we always say, try not to make assumptions about money until you get further in the process and are told exactly what your out-of-pocket cost is, because that sticker price can be a little bit deceiving than it actually is truthfully. So I know that's a lot of information, and I know I go through it really fast, and I know that some of it is maybe words you've never even heard before. So absolutely anything to do with financial aid is a great thing to reach out to me about, or reach out to me for. And I can explain this process again. I can explain it specifically for you, especially if you're a senior and you've already filed your FAFSA and we have it. I can kind of break down what it's looking like on our end and things like that for you. I always tell students it's my job to help you make a decision about Albion, even if that decision is, no, I don't want to go to that school. So don't feel like you can't call me and ask me questions about other schools in general or college in general. If you have an award letter from another school and you're not understanding it, you absolutely can reach out to me and I can walk through anything for financial aid with you. So that is kind of everything that I wanted to go through with you guys. Again, feel free to reach out to me. I will say out loud my cell phone number and my email for you. It's 517-554-8200. And my email is jdotts@albion.edu. You feel free to give me a call or email me with any questions. I look forward to hopefully talking to some of you guys soon. Thank you for your time.
Jackie, thank you so much. You did such a great, I don't want to say you did such a great job, because I know that you do this all day long, but that's one of the best explanations of financial aid that I've heard from any college admissions rep. And based on the class sizes that I'm seeing that you posted for Albion, it really sounds like students are going to get a really personalized experience if they apply and if they consider Albion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I think schools like Albion with high sticker prices, we don't have the luxury of not diving into exactly how financial aid works, because students get turned away by that number. So it's one of the first things I learned when I started working here was like, you better be able to exactly explain financial aid. So again, like I said in the video, if you have any students that are just not really getting the financial aid thing, or any parents that you would want, I can absolutely go through that with anyone, even if they're not the most interested in Albion or anything. So
great. Can you just quickly let me know too, our students always have questions about, can I have a car on campus? And is there a residence hall, and how long do I live there? Or can I live there my whole experience?
Yeah.
So, what's the situation
Yeah,
for
so you
Albion?
can have a car on campus. Yeah, so you can have a car on campus all 4 years. So even your freshman year, there is a small parking fee that just gets added to your full bill. We are a residential campus, so you have to live on campus all 4 years. When students hear that, they're like, oh, heck no. But it's because they're thinking you have to live in a dorm. But we do have apartments and we do have houses. We have fraternity houses. We have really great apartments that actually end up being way cheaper than paying rent would be, because you can use your financial aid for it. So we do have opportunities for students to be very independent. It's just all run through the campus. So.
That's so unique, and it sounds awesome for a student who really doesn't want the stress of having to look for an apartment every single semester and figure out what to do with it in the summer.
yeah, or how to pay for it. That's
Right.
like, when I was a student at Albion, I lived in these super nice apartments, way nicer than my apartment I live in now. And it was like basically a lot of it was taken care of through my financial aid. So I think students are like, oh no, I really want to live in this apartment. And I'm like, it's exactly like living for apartment. It's just nicer and cheaper. So
So you went to Albion. What was the thing that for you really stood out when you decided to go?
yeah, so I think the thing that when I decided to go, I had been on a bunch of different campus tours. I had been a bunch of different places. I was a pretty good student in high school, so I had a good GPA. I had a great ACT score, but I still felt like there were a lot of places that I went to where it was like, either one, they were selling me on the school, like oh my gosh, our school's so great, blah 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 blah, or the other way around. It was like I felt like I was in an interview. When I went to Albion, it very much so, the minute I stepped on campus, was like, hey, let's see if Albion's a good fit for you, and if you're a good fit for Albion, like let's just have a conversation. And it was a lot of like, what are your interests? What are you looking for? Here's what, and then kind of, it just was such a different vibe here than a lot of my other college visits. I actually was pretty set on going to a different college. And then my parents, I have an older sister, they had gone and toured Albion with her. She didn't end up going to Albion. And they were like, we really liked Albion. Can we just go visit? And the minute I left, I was like, oh, I absolutely want to go there. So I knew right away, which isn't necessarily the experience that every student has when they visit. It would be incredible if it was. But I think the thing that I liked the most when I was a student here is that it really is, like I said, I was a good high school student. I got good grades. I got good test scores. I knew I was a good student, but it never really felt like there was any actual acknowledgement of like who I am or how I thought or what I was interested in or what my strengths were. It was just like, hey, you memorized stuff well, good job, things like that. Or hey, you got good test scores, or hey, you got a good grade. And then when I got to Albion, it was like the complete opposite. It was like every faculty member I had, particularly in my disciplines, so in my majors and my concentration, were very much so, it would be like, hey, I've noticed in class that you're really passionate about this subject. Or I noticed when you're writing that you really, really shine when you're writing about this type of thing or in this type of way. And that's not an experience that's unique to me. That's just how Albion is. I noticed that in my sorority. I noticed that in the clubs and organizations I was in. It's just like this acknowledgement of who you are. It's just something that I had never had before. And it was just such an empowering feeling. Now I look back and I'm like, well, I thought I was like the coolest person ever because everybody was telling me I was. And I laugh because our students like that come into our office or our tour guides, they're just like that. And it's such a cool experience to see because I remember exactly how it felt to be in their shoes and for the first time be like, hey, you're an adult and you're capable, and here's the way that we're noticing that capability. So yeah.
That's so awesome. It sounds like a really great confidence builder too. Last
Absolutely.
question I have is about if a student wants to see Albion right now to check it out, to kind of have that experience that you had seeing
Yeah.
campus, can they come to campus? Are there options for that?
Yeah, so we are open for campus visits for seniors right now. So they are welcome to come on campus. We're having individual visits and tours, or we're having that's called Purple and Bold Day, which is kind of our bigger group visit days. For juniors, freshmen, and sophomore, we do have virtual visits every day too at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. So they would probably meet, they have kind of a very similar presentation to the one that I just did. And then they would have an individual like Zoom tour with one of our tour guides. So that would talk about their experience as a current student and also just show them campus. So that's also open for seniors if they would prefer to do virtual, but we are open on campus for seniors to come in person. So
Super. Thank you so much, Jackie. It's been really fun, and I've
yeah,
learned a
thank
lot, and I
you.
can't wait for our students to see this and learn about Albion too. And so I will also put your contact
Great.
information so they have it, and hopefully you'll be hearing from students in Mason and Oceana and Manistee soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's great chatting with you.
Thank you.